Hi people, welcome to UK Jazz Dance. One of the key things I learned from going back to university at the age of 41 and discovering I had dyslexia was how people discriminate against individuals with dyslexia because, not intentionally, it's through the training that they've received. They've not received any information really to make them empathetic. They've been given wrongful information. Even the people with dyslexia, they feel bad about who they are as individuals. People don't realize that they suffer from trauma. I was a person, before I went to university, I was diagnosed as special education needs slow learner. That means I didn't have any intelligence to actually lead myself, lead others, and lead organizations. But my parents got me a private tutor, and from the age of 8, after people tried to kill me, he was my private tutor plus my rehabilitation counselor, my investor, my life coach, my business coach, everything to me from the age of 8 years old to 26. And what happened, he got me to understand that what I basically is there's institutional racism, which is deliberate, and there's indirect racism or indirect discriminations takes place from the way people have been educated. And when I went to university, it was an incredible story. I got taken back to the traumas of being in primary school, secondary school, and colleges. Exactly the people I met outside my culture were treating me the same way. Middle class kids, because I went to middle class primary, secondary, and colleges. They were treating me exactly the same way. But it wasn't only negative, but at the same time, I had individuals who treated me the same way, in the sense of a positive way, in context to non-discriminations. So you found out more people who treated you in certain ways was different. Some people were informed about special education needs and informed about people's cultures, but you had individuals who didn't have that, who'd come to university, being already conditioned from the early learning years, because you have to understand early learning years, 80% of your formative learning takes place then. So the discriminations that people have, they grow up with it. And you see that in university, and you see how universities change it. Because I was a warden, I was 5 years in Oxford Brookes University, and I became a warden. I worked in a lot of work, and I saw people come with discriminations against cultures and end up being their best friends. So I realized that when you have an environment where people get to see each other every day under certain circumstances, it helps to change people's ideas. And so where did I know that more than anything else? I know that from dance, from the dance world. If you look at Lindy Hop, if you go back to jazz, people grew up discriminating against blacks because parents taught them to. When they got to mix with blacks, they questioned it and they created their own ways to learn from blacks, and they questioned society, and they came to be the forebearers of the programs that we call today cross-cultural arts programs, multi-arts education, multicultural arts education, multicultural education, youth arts culture exchanges, and I've been part of all them as an individual. People came together with a desire and passion and commitment to make change by interaction. Social interaction is the best way to change people's perception about another culture. And it's important to have as much positive experiences as possible. I say this, why? Because what happens is, I'll use my example. I had a lot of experiences in the middle class white school with middle class white kids. But then, as also in my primary school, I had positive experiences with middle class white kids. My best friend was an Irish guy in my primary and secondary, as well as black guys. Experiences with them, experiences with the teachers that loved me, made me aware what my mum told me. There's good-spirited white people and negative-spirited white people. There's good-spirited black people and negative-spirited black people. There's good-spirited Asians and negative-spirited Asians. My mum put it into context of good-spirited and bad-spirited when you meet people, and she was correct. And what I can talk about, I had some good-spirited African diaspora people, and I know some bad-spirited African. I had really positive experiences in all the educational places I've been. I've always had good and negative experiences with races. So what happened, that brought me to be a champion multicultural education project, and I started to create my own projects, which are called Student Empowering Students, Student Empowering Community, Student Empowering Small Businesses, Student Empowering Artists. Because as a student, I realized I was an engineering student, ITS engineering student. I was going to be with people for many, many years. And I said, let's interact with each other. Let's directly talk about the stereotypes that we have. So I got people to share me something about your culture, and I'll share you something about my culture. I took people on trips. I took people to clubs. I took people to discos. I took people to understand, I could get an understanding to political meetings I'd gone to give them an insight I'm no different than anybody else. It's just that you had a stereotype about me. So what happened? The stereotypes about blacks, particularly Jamaicans, that they're not conscientious, they're lazy, they're sleazy, they all think about is sex, this and that. I changed the people's context by actually having many cultures I could introduce them to: reggae culture, jazz, funk, soul, African dance, Brazilian drumming, Caribbean drumming, calypso. I mean, we've got carnivals, the emancipation of slavery. We don't just dance. We dance for liberty and joy. You have to understand, for 400 years you've been in slavery and 100 years in colonialization. You can understand the importance of why we celebrate in the way that we do through dance and music. That was part of our culture anyway, but even more so for West Indians, you have to know their history, which people didn't know. Anyway, I'm just giving people an insight into basically university opened me up that my purpose is to create programs to do with discriminations, because I face, at the age of 41, I face multiple discriminations: Jamaican, Mancunian, age discrimination, subject discrimination. I could go on. Gender discriminations. The city I was from, I've already identified that. Do you understand? So all the things they talk on the Equal Equality Acts, I faced a number of discriminations at university, and I observed that other people did